What up, everybody? It's the Build Different podcast. Usual suspects: Ricky Alphonse, CEO of Extropian; Sean Green, our COO; one of our amazing data scientists, Justin. So obviously, life in a startup, life in a company, there's things that kind of motivate you, that kind of get you going, things that you frequently watch that inspire you. So I want to kind of go down the list today. Anybody that wants to start a company, maybe some of these things inspire you as well. Maybe these are some good reads to get you motivated to even start a company. We kind of just wanted to lay everything out. When I first started my journey, there was quite a few things I started watching that got me motivated, that put me in the right frame of mind. I had to do a huge mindset shift from being working in a 9 to 5 job and grinding, but I had to do a complete mindset flip to being an entrepreneur, being an owner, building your dream, and I think it was a beautiful change for me because it was essentially going from building somebody else's dream that you would never meet to building my own dream and bringing around people that believed in me, believed in what we're building, believed in the company. So just wanted to lay out some of the things that inspire me, and I want to hear, some of the things that inspire you, Sean and Justin as well. So obviously, kind of one of the first things that people always kind of go to is books. So Justin, I know you're an avid reader. What are some of the books that kind of inspire you and motivate you? Like, do you have like a top maybe three?
When it comes to, let me think, books that I've read that like inspire me. I read David Goggins' book, probably like a
Oh,
year, 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. And
can't
man,
hurt me.
hearing his story, just like where he started, where he came from, like the kind of dysfunctional family that he came up in, and then the kind of dead end job he was working. He was super overweight. I think he was like a pest control guy or something, and
Yeah.
see how he just made such a jarring shift to like going into buds and trying out for the Navy SEALs, and then having like the
Hmm.
world record I think for pull-ups it was, and then he does like the ultra marathons. It's crazy the kind of mental shift that he made to be able to do all of those things that and even if you just follow him on like Instagram now, it makes you, if you watch one of his videos, it makes you like want to go run a mile or something. So yeah, he's reading like his book has definitely been uh, very like inspiring to hear his story and stuff and just see like how where he started to what he's become now. What else have I read? This year I read the CEO of or yeah now he's the CEO again, the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. He had his autobiography that he wrote where he talks about how he became CEO of Disney and how he got to know Steve Jobs, how he acquired Star Wars and Marvel, and it's a really interesting story hearing the process of all of those things. And it's a little bit of a different story in the sense, like, not that he came from like a tough upbringing, but talking about how he became in charge of one of like the biggest entertainment companies, and it's just hearing about how like the rules he has for being like a good leader and being a good being a good person and how far that can go in like in terms of business. I thought was um really cool to read. I'm trying to think. Oh, and then I read this other book called The Choice, which was by like a Holocaust survivor, and she's she's a therapist now, and she talks about how to like how she got over like the trauma of going through the Holocaust and all of those things, and how she overcame some of the terrible things that she saw and that happened to her. It's a pretty inspiring story. So I think of the books that I read recently, those are the three that kind of stand out.
Awesome. Sean, how about yourself? Any of the books that kind of motivated you or kind of push you through, get you through tough times or anything like that?
Um, I'm not a huge book reader, unfortunately. I probably should be more of one. One book I remember really liking, I read it I think a few years back, was it's called The Undoing Project, and it's about um kind of statistics, analytics, and how it kind of came to be, and understanding probabilities, understanding statistics, and using that um in really interesting ways. And I think it talked even about how the army was using, statistics and analytics as a way to optimize, their performance and their fighting styles and things like that. So I like things that and that was written by Michael Lewis, who I think Michael Lewis is incredible. He also wrote Moneyball. He wrote The Big Short. So a lot of these like movies that everyone thinks of, they're like, oh my god, I like that movie. Like he wrote
Mhm.
the book version of a lot of those. So that's one I think that really kind of like stuck with me and one that I really enjoyed. Um, yeah. How about you?
I have more than three, really. I mean, being, and I'll say this one: you don't have to be a religious person to read it, but the Bible. I think the Bible has a lot of, I'm a religious person, but yeah, I think the Bible has a lot of good principles. Like, it's shaped the way I want to run a company. To kind of start off with, like the main thing, the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I believe that, something I take through in my life is just being a good person and good, being you be a good person to people, and people tend to be good people back to you, and I think that's the way I've lived my life, the way I want to do business and everything like that. Um, I talked about like a mindset shift. Going from just sorry, forgot to put my phone on mute. Um, Going from kind of just this mindset of like climbing the corporate ladder to like if you really put your mind to it and you work hard, you can build your own dream and build the life you want to have and stuff like that. So I'm really big on mindset books and motivational type of books. Those are the ones I tend to like to read. I'm not as big on the biographics or things like that. But David Goggins was a great one that Justin mentioned that I really liked. Can't Hurt Me. I thought that was really powerful. But to start off with, I was like, for me, it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Rich Dad Poor Dad was a big help in shifting my mindset from like the 9 to 5 to thinking like an entrepreneur or somebody that builds a company, builds their dream. Um, I always mention this one back in the day, back on our calls, but we haven't brought it up in a while. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. His golden circle and just having you know having a reason as to why you're doing things and a bigger cause. And I think so many companies and just companies and projects that people work on, there needs to be that why behind it that everybody kind of rallies around and rallies behind. I mean, Tony Robbins is always huge on mindset, awaken the giant within. Magic of Thinking Big was huge. One of the recent ones I mentioned on another podcast, Psycho Cybernetics. It's just a lot of things that we tell ourselves, the things that we repeat to ourselves, the story that we tell ourselves essentially is the way we shape the world and, the way things unfold around us. Those are the type of books I like to read because I honestly believe it. I've felt it before it's happened where, I have this, a thought process about something and I see things unfold in that way. And I love those type of books. And yeah, those are some of the bigger ones that I like reading. And those are typical books that I try to read. I have a whole list though of other books. Like me and Justin kind of gone back and forth and started adding a ton of books to the list. Some of them he's given to me. Some of them I gave to him, and we have a whole list of books that we want to engage in. But I too, Sean, I'm not as good of a I'm not as good as like staying on top of reading as I want to. I want to read more. I do a lot of audiobooks even in the car and stuff like that. But definitely want to engage more in reading through this whole list of books that I have. Me and Justin are kind of piling up together.
Yeah.
Um, what's on your list now, Justin? What like I know I was gonna spit out this list, but what's kind of coming up for you? What do you want to
Hmm.
potentially read next?
I actually just finished reading a book. It's the first fiction that I've read all year. It's called No Country for Old Men. There was a movie that was based that
Oh, I saw that movie.
made about, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, a couple years ago. The guy that wrote it's a really famous author that every book website that I stumble or I go on, I always come across like his name and how famous his books are. So, and I really like the movie, so I wanted to read it. And that is a brutal book for sure, but it was really good. Um, Now I want to read. I really like Robert Greene's books. He wrote like
Mm,
14 Laws of Power. He wrote
yeah.
Mastery, Laws of Human Nature. I read all of his books. The only one I haven't read was 33 Strategies of War. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of like a historical book. It talks about like ancient war strategies and stuff. That stuff sounds really interesting to me. So I'll probably snag that this weekend or something. But man, I have like a massive list of books I have to go through. So we'll see what else I got lined up for the rest of the year. What about you? What's next for you?
I was gonna go through the list here.
Let me look at my list too, actually.
Yeah, and some of these I was gonna share this list with you. It's like I've been saving on Amazon. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell
I just read that.
is
That's good.
one. Was that good?
That's
Okay, yeah, that's one of them. So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport and Deep Work. The Art of Finding Flow, 100 Quotes That Will Change Your Life, Psychology of Money.
I,
Four Agreements I saw is a very short one that I'm like, okay, cool, I can get through that quickly.
yeah.
Make Your Bed, The Little Things You Change that Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. Malcolm Gladwell, Gail Blink, Build the Life You Want. Uh, the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Never Split the Difference, Think Fast and Slow. I mean, mindset, habit, maximum. I could go on and on, but I have a list, and a lot of it's mindset type of books and motivational type of books, and
Yeah.
even now in the space that we're in is like deal making type of books and money and economics. And but yeah, I think it's a great way, and what motivates me to want to read is just becoming a more well-rounded person, a well-versed person. Like we meet people all the time and we have conversations with people all the time, like, damn, how does that person know all of these
Yeah.
different aspects of life and business and psychology? And it's like you can do all of those things through reading. Like we can all be experts and quasi experts in all of these different fields by reading and engaging and with others and networking.
Hmm.
So that's really why I really want to read, is just acquiring that knowledge and know-how. But Sean, how about yourself? Anything? I know you said you're not an avid reader. I'm trying to get better at it myself. But anything that you've kind of had like on the back burner that you want to read that you thought was like, damn, I really want to get around to getting into that book.
To be honest, no. Uh,
Okay.
Probably should
Okay.
start there, and then I can actually come up with books that I want to read. Growing up, it was like reading. Obviously, you had to read the books for school and stuff, and so that was like I there was books after after I was done with school. I remember reading like the Hunger Games books back in the day. I remember reading the book American Sniper. Um, that book was really incredible. So it's like books like that I really enjoyed when I did read them. So I think trying to figure out what genre of books would really like interest me, and then because once I start, if it's a good book, I'm not gonna put it down. But it's like getting getting into it is the tough part for me.
See, I didn't know that you didn't like to read. I mean, we never had the conversation about reading, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I was gonna send some books to your house one time that I read that were like really inspiring to me. Like I think as COO, like would kind of give you some like really great ideas and tips, and they're not. It's not like hard reading where it's just like, oh my god, this. But it was like really analysis of different business practices, marketing ideas. One was Hooked by Nir Eyal, where he just goes through and shows you how like so many of these companies and products we use, they're built in a way that make people want to continue to use them, to bring users stay on your platform and people engage with your content, things like that. That was one of the ones I was going to send you. And of course start with why. So, I was
I
going to,
I do have a little bookshelf in my room.
with
Some of them
notebooks.
I've read, and some of them I need to read still. So I'll probably start there and then look into books that I don't have.
Yeah, no. So other things that motivate you guys in life. What are some of the movies that you guys have taken inspiration from, like that have maybe made you want to be a better person, made you want to, maybe in business it kind of motivated you. Maybe motivated you want to, have a specific type of lifestyle or do certain things? Is there any movies that you guys watched that were like, damn, I want, like, this motivated me to do X, Y, or Z?
Hmm. I have to think.
One movie that I saw recently, and it's not a particularly new. I mean, it's not old, but it's not like new. Was McFarland USA. I don't know if either of you saw that when it came out. Basically, it's about a football, like a ex high school football coach who moves to this like very small rural town where a lot of the kids like work in the fields before school, then they go to school, then they go back home, work in the fields some more, like that's what their families do to like they have to support their families and stuff like that. Um, and so he goes there and he realizes that these kids have like unreal stamina and are like really fast, and he like decides to start a cross country team. And it's like most of the cross country teams at the time, because it was back in like the scene took place in like the 80s or something like that, and so like most of the teams that were doing cross country back then were like these very rich white schools, that was the kids that were doing it. And then you had this one team of mostly like immigrant families and stuff like that. And um, but what I liked about it was like the coach was played by Kevin Costner, and he just did a great job of like kind of motivating the kids and getting them to the point where it's like they're racing for more than just you know a trophy or whatever. Like their whole community rallied behind them, and there was this one kid who was like a little more like not as fast and more chubby than the rest of the kids on the team. And the main reason he was on the team was because two of his brothers were fast, so they needed the brothers, so they were like, okay, he can be on the team too. And I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I guess I will, because it's part of the reason why I liked it so much. But like essentially, like every time they ran a race or anything, like he would always be like coming in last, like lagging behind, lagging behind. And in like the final race of the movie, he was in last, but he saw one of the guys on the team like basically like gas out way too early, and it was one of the guys who was supposed to finish like and get them like points. So he just starts like running his butt off and like ends up like being the difference that helps win the team. So I don't know. That movie kind of was like I wasn't expecting to be that like blown away by it, but I had seen like little clips of it on TikTok or whatever, and I was like, I'll watch it, and I really liked it. I really thought it was a great movie.
Nice. I'll have to check that one out.
How about yourself, Justin? Any movies that kind of motivated you? Anything that was like life inspiring that you took a lot of emphasis from?
As far as movies go, I'm trying to think. Um, I remember a long time ago, I saw this movie called the Cinderella Man. It was about James Braddock,
Oh yeah.
boxer from like the
Hmm.
20s, at the 20s during like the Great Depression or something. And I
Hmm.
remember really liking that movie because it was about, like a family man trying to, provide for his family and stuff through like one of the worst times in history. And he's doing it by being a boxer, like one of the hardest career paths you can do. And yeah, I remember I thought that was a really inspiring movie just to, it kind of like highlighted the importance of just taking care of your family no matter what, doing whatever you could to kind of be the best father, best family man you could be. And that was a pretty good movie. That's the first one I can think of when I think of like inspiring. What about you?
Movies are kind of hard for me too because I tend to like the like action movies. Like I'm a huge Bond fan, which Bond is cool because it's like being that kind of tough guy, masculine man, like dressing nice, what I mean, being on top of your game as far as like charm and looks and stuff like that. But for me, like business wise, I would say like the Jobs movie, the Social Network, the McDonald's movie, the one that Sean mentioned I still have to watch is the Air movie about Jordan and the brand and everything like that. There's probably some movies I'm not thinking of, but I think the Mandela movie and I remember being younger, and I think my family put on like the Gandhi movie or something, seeing everything he went through and his march for social justice. There's certain movies, historical movies, which I tend not to watch as much, that have some, seeing, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders, and people that fought for justice or fought for the rights of others. Like, there's a lot of like Tubman movies and Holocaust related movies. What was the one I was Diary of Anne Frank, and just seeing people overcoming like the odds, or like, you know just horrible situations, and always kind of putting themselves before, like putting their selves and their life on the line for something bigger, like a bigger cause, or um for others. You know what I mean? Those movies are always, I would say, motivating. I try to stay away from things that are sad, because there's enough sadness in the world, but those movies are always touching and motivating. And then it's just a reminder of like how great, like how great our lives are. Like, you know what I mean? We're not, these people overcame things in some of the worst situations. We're really blessed, the life that we have and the freedom that we have. And, those type of movies always remind us of like, these people are doing amazing things with really shitty circumstances. We, have the great ability to do amazing things with, in good, in pretty good circumstances. You know what I mean? So movies like that. I forget the one with Will Smith where he was trying to get that job over and over again, and
Oh, Pursuit of
what was
Happiness.
it? Yeah, Pursuit of Happiness. Movies like that where it's just like,
Yeah.
man, these people, they had to really grind and make something happen, and they did, and they overcame the odds. Those are inspiring movies, I would say.
No, I agree.
One
Uh,
that one that came to mind with what you were just saying, Ricky, and it's more of a comedy, I guess, but Cool Runnings. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
I saw that movie a
which
long
one?
time
Cool
ago.
Runnings?
About it.
Cool Runnings, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that movie. That's been like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just like, and but it is the same kind of like underdog mentality. Like, who would think that a group of guys from Jamaica would win, or like they didn't win, but like be in the running for a bobsled competition.
hmm
Totally.
Yeah, no, that was a good one, funny one. Yul Brenner, Sanka, Coffee, and I remember that movie. Um, how about individuals, and this could be past or present, that you guys would like to meet, that um, has an inspiring story, or like you're like, man, like I'd love to meet this person and pick their brain, and just talk to them about their journey. Like, is there anybody in particular you guys would like to meet historically? I'll start with you, Sean. It looks like you're
No, don't start with me. Start with somebody else. I need some time to think.
Somebody else.
Justin.
Only one other person.
I forgot Sean is more like a guy of the present and future, more so than like the past. He doesn't. Yeah. So Justin, we'll start with you.
Someone inspiring that I would want to meet. I remember reading Lone Survivor when I was in college and hearing about that
hmm
story. So, probably meeting Marcus Luttrell would be pretty crazy. Talking to him about that experience. Because do you guys know the story about Lone Survivor?
Watch the movie.
I think I've
Yeah,
seen the movie. Yeah.
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 The book was, oh my gosh, it's crazy the things that he went through. I would I I mean, I know David Goggins is someone that I kind of talk about a lot with like mindset, but like Marcus Luttrell, he got shot like um, a, a lot by the Taliban, and he was had grenades thrown at him. He fell off a cliff. He crawled for like a mile to get help and stuff. He lost three of his best friends, and he still survived the ordeal. It's a crazy story. So I would love to meet him someday. What about you guys?
Sean's still thinking.
Yeah, you go first.
Uh, I don't know. There's so many different people that I think have great stories, or inspiring. It's hard for me to pinpoint one particular person. I mean, even historically, like you know, early presidents, civil rights leaders, people that were dynamic in change. I'd love to meet a lot of the inventors from back, people that invented a lot of things. The Wright brothers would be cool to historically go back and meet, to just see their thought process. It would be cool to be around in that time where people, they were trying to present something and people were laughing at them, and they you know, they proved everybody wrong. I would love to be around that scene and talk to them about that experience and just other inventors and other people that changed the world. Um, you know, even even today's people, like, I'm a big Jordan fan, would love to meet him. I mean, um, even biblical figures, like, I just I don't know, there's a lot of people that inspire me. I think that a lot of people have cool stories that I would like to meet and talk to, and even just pick their brain and learn from them. So it's hard to pinpoint one, but I have a bunch.
Okay, I finally thought of one. Um, and I feel like this is going to surprise Ricky because usually we're on the opposite sides of this coin. And he's not around unfortunately anymore. But I'd love to meet Kobe.
Yeah.
I just think from everything all the stories that come out about Kobe, it's just like the way that he not only like inspired his teammates, but just like it was kind of like they always talk about like the
Yeah.
Mamba mentality. It was like he just felt so confident in himself and like in his ability to lead other people. Where it was like I don't know if people would say that Kobe was like the most talented player of all time. Like I would lean towards no, to be honest. But I think the mindset that he had put him on the level where people are where he's in that conversation as one of the greatest players of all time. So
um yeah, and as a player, like, cause I wasn't a fan of the Lakers, but I used to despise him on the court because he was so amazing. And he, he but later on in life, and you know I really do wish he was alive. I would love to. He started developing a business mindset, and he was just super influential and such an amazing leader. And I grew to respect him and to actually start liking him. Like, despite, like, earlier on being like, man, I don't want to see the Lakers win. Da 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 da. But yeah, I ended up being really really intrigued with him, and I went and visited all his murals in L.A., and that was really cool and really inspiring. But yeah, that would be a person I want to meet. I think people sleep on his talent now. I think, and it's sad because of his, he's not here anymore. But yeah, Kobe was amazing player. I mean, not only from a mindset aspect, he did things on the court you don't even see people doing today. As much as it's just, I think he gets. I don't know why he gets such and not a bad rap, but I think that people just sleep on him and put a lot of people in the conversation of greatest over him, and it's just like, nah, Kobe was a absolute beast. He was a dog, man, and I think people have really slept on him over the years. But yeah, I would have loved to have met Kobe, and anybody with that mindset that kind of like uh you know either get down or lay down, like, I'm gonna get mine, like, either join me or I love that mindset, and that's Jordan had that mindset. There's a couple of athletes out there that have that mindset. There's people in business that have that mindset. Um, Steve Jobs, would have been one.
and just
You
also
know,
the idea that like everything that I've heard, like I think I watched one of the documentaries on Netflix where they talked about him joining the USA basketball team, and the team was talented already before he joined. Like they had LeBron, they had Wade, they had Mela, all these other guys, but it was like he brought a level of like discipline and leadership to
mhm.
the team that was like that's what they were missing. They weren't necessarily missing talent. They had plenty of talent, but it was like he was the one that was going to be in there at 5 in the morning working out, getting his shots up while the other guys were partying till 2 in the morning, whatever. Like that's I think what I'd want to talk to him about is like that motivation of like he was just like on a different level with the level of discipline and the level of
Work
like
ethic.
commitment that he had to his craft.
The crazy story was draft night when he was drafted. I don't know if you guys have heard the story where he got drafted. Everybody else was celebrating. Oh, I made it into NBA. Let's go party. I'm going to the club. I'm popping bottles. Kobe's like, nah, I'm going to the gym. He went right to the gym after the draft and practice. You know what I mean?
That's
And that just speaks to who he was. And, unfortunately, there's not a lot of that kind of mindset left in the NBA and or in a lot of sports anymore. But yeah, that was really inspiring. Um, any anything else that motivates you guys? Like for me, I listen to a lot of like motivational speakers, and I don't know if you guys have any particular ones that you listen to that you're like, man, I really like their messaging, or they really inspire me, or um, they have these talks that you always kind of go back to and reference whenever you're, feeling down or you want to motivate yourself or get pumped up. I know you mentioned David Goggins, Justin. I don't know if you had any other.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Greene, the author that I really like. He has a lot of clips on TikTok, and he does a lot of talks on YouTube and stuff that I go and watch. And he just talks about it's a lot of like psychology and like social intelligence type lectures and stuff. But they're very interesting
Hmm.
and talk about how to deal with certain people or how to overcome certain things in life or other than Robert Greene, I also really like Ryan Holiday. He's another really good author. He wrote, ego is the enemy, obstacle is the way, and he talks a lot about similar things too. But um, the messages that he tries to get across, I feel like are very important for people to kind of not get too stuck in the mindset of oh, things aren't going my way. This sucks. Blah blah blah. Feeling sorry for yourself. It's his messages are very. It's kind of about embracing like obstacles and embracing the hardship and um, kind of trying to stay conscious of like your ego and being focused on staying disciplined and things like that. And I don't know. I think those are really important things to hear. So definitely between those two guys, I love listening to what they have to say.
This reminded me of the book "The Obstacle Is the Way." What you just said, but
Yeah.
excuse me, Sean. What about yourself? Any podcasts or anybody you like listening to?
Um, Not particular like motivational speakers or even podcasts, but I like to get me like motivated and hyped up. Sometimes I really like listening to music.
Yeah.
I think there's I have different genres that I listen to depending on what I'm trying to do or what my goal is. So it's like I like country, but country isn't necessarily something that's gonna like hype me up most of the time.
No.
Um, but there's a lot of like alternative bands and music that I like that the songs are a little bit more like upbeat and I like lyrics that are kind of motivational. There's
Hmm.
one song that I like called All Gas No Brakes. So it's just kind of like I don't know, songs like that and music like that. Like I'll listen to a lot of that before I have a disc golf tournament, just to kind of get me like, like in the mood and like ready to try to go out and perform my best.
That's funny you didn't mention that because before we had a big pitch to everybody out there. Everybody on here knows about it. Like last week, like there were certain songs I put on to like kind of motivate myself to get in the right mindset. To, get in that kind of killer mode where it's just like you said, pedal to the floor, all gas, no brakes. I'm with you there. There's certain songs, certain lyrics that motivate me, and so yeah, I put those songs on. I was ready to go. Um, so yeah, music. Justin, any music for you? Any song, particular song?
Um, Not really anything in particular. I did watch a show recently called The Bear. Have you guys ever seen that? That's a
No.
really good show. It's on Hulu. It's about a chef that moves to Chicago to take care of his brother's
Uh,
small restaurant, and that's
mhm.
that's a really good motivational show because you see how the kitchen staff how like unruly and kind of mischievous and kind of immature they are, and then you see like over the course of the 2 seasons that are out how they become like a fine dining restaurant and stuff. It's a very good the way they do like the character arcs and they show everyone's kind of transformation into more of like a polished, like sophisticated person in the restaurant industry is really it's really good to kind of see like that transformation. That was inspiring to me at least.
Yeah, I know what show you're talking about now. I've never watched it, but I was gonna say for me, a lot of the motivational stuff I take on, like when I first started, and I'm like trying to figure out how to get this thing going. I know Alexis Ohanian, he had Small Empire, so I started watching that. I started watching Peter Voog, really motivational. Gary V, love Gary V. E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher will make you get out of bed and run through your wall outside. You don't even need a car or nothing. You'll run to wherever the hell you got to go. Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Dale Carnegie, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, um, and for mindset, Dr. Joe Dispenza, like big on mindset and putting yourself in the right frame of mind. Recently, I've been like lifestyle motivation, business, ALUX, VYBO, and then from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I love watching Unbox Therapy, MKBHD, and seeing new products that are out and seeing reviews of it. I get gassed up, like, and I've always gotten gassed up by CES and different product releases, like even Apple. I'm not I don't use Apple products, but I love seeing their shows and them kind of displaying the new technology and new unveilings. Same thing with Apple. I mean, with Sony, new PlayStations. I love seeing them do the releases, the packaging. Samsung, Nintendo, Xbox. I like seeing all of their new product lines and just hearing them talk about it and hearing them kind of reveal it to the world. Those are all motivating for me. So those are some of my additional motivations that get me going from a business sense and from an entrepreneurial standpoint and building a company. Anything else that motivates you guys that you want to talk about?
They'd be pretty much.
Hopefully, I have some motivational effect on you guys. Hopefully, I do. You guys motivate me in different ways as well. So, thank you guys, and the rest of the team, and our can't leave out our fighters that motivate us every time they go into the ring or the octagon, or and then also too a lot of our mentors, like big motivators, and where they've been, where they the rooms they've been in, the people they've been around, huge motivators. So we want to thank them also. So with that being said, we wanted to wrap it up. I don't know, Sean, if you had something you were going to say, or you just agreeing with
No,
me.
I was just agreeing with you. I said definitely.
Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, thank everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, we can motivate you guys, and that's what we want to bring you along on our journey. And we want you guys to kind of follow us and see what we're building. And yeah, hopefully, we can be a motivation and inspiration to you. And maybe you'll be talking about us on the podcast down the road about Extropian, the company that kind of helped you get your mindset right and build your own product and your own company and your own culture. So, with that being said, we hope you guys have a great week. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us who motivates you and things you do to get inspired. And with that being said, have a great week, a positive weekend. Bless.